The story that we will hear in the gospel text of Luke is a favorite story of mine, and it is a story found exclusively in the gospel of Luke. In chapter 9, verse 51, Luke tells us that Jesus set his face toward Jerusalem. And that verse begins what is known as the travel narrative or the travel journey of Jesus, where Jesus sets off and will let nothing deter him. The only time Jesus will stop is when he reaches Jerusalem in chapter 19, verse 28. The reading of today is taken from chapter 19, verses 1 to 10, and begins with telling us that Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. So very clearly, at the beginning of this text, we are told that the only reason why Jesus enters Jericho is because Jericho is on the way to Jerusalem. He has no intention of stopping there. He has no intention of resting there. He is only using Jericho as a means to reach Jerusalem. And then we are introduced to a very, very beautiful and vibrant character in the Gospels whose name is Zacchaeus. And we are told two things about Zacchaeus. The first is we are told that he was a chief tax collector. In other words, he would have been at a much higher position than Matthew or Levi, who were only tax collectors. Zacchaeus is a chief tax collector who would have had at least 10 tax collectors like Matthew or Levi working under him. So surely he was much more powerful. And we are given a second fact about Zacchaeus, that he was rich. Now the rich have not fared well in the Gospel of Luke. Gospel of Luke is the only Gospel in which woes are pronounced on the rich. The Gospel of Luke is the only Gospel in which we read the parable of the rich fool who wants to build big barns and is told that God requires him to come to him tonight. The Gospel of Luke is the only Gospel in which we read the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. So the rich have not fared well in Luke. The tax collectors have fared very well because Jesus is a friend of tax collectors. Jesus eats and drinks with tax collectors, and Zacchaeus is a chief tax collector. And so our dilemma is this. Because Zacchaeus is a tax collector, he can be a friend of Jesus. But because Zacchaeus is rich, we ask, will his riches prevent him from meeting Jesus? And then we are told about the impediments that Zacchaeus faces. And there are two. I call these impediments internal and external. What are they? They are connected. What is the internal impediment of Zacchaeus? What is it which prevents him from seeing Jesus? He is short. So what? Can't short people see Jesus? Why should his height be a disadvantage? It is connected with the external impediment, and that is, there is a crowd. So because Zacchaeus is short and there is a crowd, the internal and the external are connected, he cannot see Jesus. If Zacchaeus was tall and if there was a crowd, he could see Jesus easily. If there was no crowd and Zacchaeus was short, he could see Jesus. But both these impediments or obstacles come in the way of his desire. He only wants to see Jesus and is prevented. Now, if the desire of Zacchaeus was not a genuine desire, he would have run away and would have said to himself, I will meet him tomorrow if possible, or else let it be. But Zacchaeus perseveres. Zacchaeus will not wait for tomorrow, because in Zacchaeus' dictionary, there is only now, there is no tomorrow. And that's why Zacchaeus does two things in order to ensure that he can see Jesus. The first is he runs. he uses what I call is his heart. His heart tells him that Jesus is going to come further, and so he runs because he wants to ensure that this desire is fulfilled. But besides using his heart, which is shown by his running, Zacchaeus uses his mind also. And what does he do? He climbs a tree. The sycamore tree had wide branches. And so Zacchaeus chooses the appropriate tree where he could sit down in comfort. Now, Zacchaeus has first of all reached the place where Jesus is to come before Jesus, and he has made himself tall by climbing a tree and sitting in that tree. So in that one act of running and climbing the tree, Zacchaeus has overcome both the obstacles. Now the crowd will not be an obstacle even if the crowd continues to come with Jesus, because Zacchaeus is there before and because Zacchaeus is now tall. And then Zacchaeus does something which many of us can learn from, and that is that Zacchaeus waits. It is so difficult to wait on the Lord. We want to talk with the Lord. We want to tell the Lord. We want to share with the Lord. We want to pray. We want to sing. And sometimes, like in this case, it is necessary simply to wait. And Zacchaeus waits. The Lord comes when the Lord will come. The Lord comes at His time. I cannot hasten the time of the Lord. I cannot tell the Lord when He will come. The Lord decides when is a good time for me. I, on my part, have to wait. And I wait actively. I wait not by feeling drowsy, not by sleeping. I wait. And I am attentive, I am alert, I am alive. And the Lord comes. Sometimes I speak with the Lord before the Lord speaks with me. But at most times, the Lord speaks first. And in this case, the Lord speaks to Zacchaeus first. When the Lord says, Zacchaeus, and Zacchaeus is surprised because the Lord knows his name. But the Lord knows all our names. We don't have to tell the Lord our names. And the Lord knows Zacchaeus' name and says, Zacchaeus, come down. I must stay in your house today. You notice, at the beginning of the text, Jesus entered Jericho simply to pass through. In chapter 9 verse 51, we were told that He set His face towards Jerusalem and nothing will deter Him, nothing will restrain Him, nothing will keep Him back from reaching Jerusalem. And here we are told that He is going to be restrained. He is going to be kept back. He is going to reside for a night in the home of Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus, come down. I must stay in your house today. And now we can hear with the ears of our head. We can also hear with the ears of our hearts. And we can see that Zacchaeus' hearing is not merely a hearing with the ears of his head. It is also a hearing with the ears of his heart. Because Zacchaeus listens to the Lord and comes down. And Zacchaeus stands erect. He stands on his toes to make himself taller, because this is what the Lord has made him feel. This is how the Lord has approached him. The Lord has seen in Zacchaeus what no one else could see. The Lord has seen good in Zacchaeus. The Lord has seen a saint in Zacchaeus. The Lord has seen a disciple in Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus stands right up. If Zacchaeus had only listened with the ears of his head, he would have said to the Lord, Lord, you're welcome to my house. Stay for as many days as you like. This would be one response. Another response, if he heard only with the ears of his head, would have been, Lord, not only you, but all the people who follow you are welcome to my house. Lord, I'm going to give a banquet for you. I'm going to give a feast for you. Lord, I'm going to invite everyone whom you would like to come to this banquet and feast. These would have been good responses. Responses if Zacchaeus had heard with the ears of his head alone. Zacchaeus hears with the ears of his head, but he also hears with the ears of his heart, and that's why he stands erect. He stands on his toes. He stands tall and says to the Lord, if I have defrauded anyone, and tax collectors would surely have defrauded a number of people, if I have defrauded anyone, I will pay them back 4 times. Half my goods I will give to the poor. Who asked you, Zacchaeus? Nobody asked me. I want to give. I want to give because it comes from within. I want to give because I have encountered the one who has everything. I have met the Lord who has everything, and so now I need nothing. Now, if you were to make a calculation and say, if Zacchaeus has given half of the goods to the poor and paid back 4 times to the people whom he defrauded, what would he have? And the answer is, he would have everything because he has the Lord. And the Lord says, today, salvation has come to this house. Zacchaeus is transformed. This is what any encounter with the Lord can do. This is what the Lord can do with us if we only wait on Him. Listen to what He has to say to us, what He is asking of us, and respond from the heart. Zacchaeus was unafraid to respond to the Lord. Zacchaeus did not let his short stature or the crowd be a deterrent to his desire to see the Lord. And because of this, not only was Zacchaeus transformed by the Lord, but Zacchaeus became a new person because of his encounter with the Lord. Have you met the Lord? Have you seen, like Paul says, the risen Christ? If you have not, take a cue from Zacchaeus. Let nothing deter you, neither external nor internal, because the Lord wants to make Himself known to you. The Lord wants to reveal Himself to you. Wait on the Lord. Listen to Him with the ears of your head and of your heart. He will speak and you will respond. And like Zacchaeus, your response will surprise even you. Are you willing to take up this challenge of meeting the Lord?